Hey y'all, Feliz Quinta Feira. Hey, hey, hey. It is Thursday and I am here. I'm happy. I'm happy. I'm happy that you're happy. And oh my goodness, look, we've got a new channel member. Who's first in the chat? Steven. He said, Boa noite, everyone. I've got my glass of vino tinto. Yes, let's go. Let's go. Hey, Action BJs. Yeah, Action BJs. Action BJ. Hit the like button. What I meant to say was like the fellas, y'all are representing in the chat tonight. So I appreciate it. Thank you for coming in and hanging out with me. So yeah, today is Thursday, my usual time. Lots to talk about. I always like to start these lives with like a little bit of an update. Um, Still adjusting to the schedule for my Portuguese class. And yes, oh, that's right. So I think last week I told you that I didn't get my test results. So my first exam. And I'm going to caveat this, right? Because I thought the exam was on Tuesday, so I didn't really study because then Bailey had her whole, hospital thing, and we're still doing tests. She's okay. She's comfortable now. But anyway, because of all of that brouhaha, I hadn't got a chance to study. So it was like I kind of took it cold, but I got a B. Yay! Yay! Psh, psh, cue the confetti. So I'm feeling really good. And then today, I had rented a car yesterday because I had to take Bailey to get this like heart test in preparation for her surgery. And I returned the car and I did not, for the first time, slip into English, because I could kind of understand what he was saying, which was like he was going to, you know, email me the invoice and all this other stuff and then ask me if I needed a ride to the airport, which I didn't. I was like, ooh, another level unlocked. I was very proud of myself today. So hopefully you've been also tuning in to some of the lives, the extra lives that we've been doing in preparation for the Move to Portugal Virtual Summit. We are, oh my gosh, tomorrow means we're 2 weeks away. I'm pretty sure. So lots to finalize. Alicia and I and Rick have been working on that. And you can also catch us tomorrow night on Picky Girl Travels World channel. So definitely tune in for that. But if you have not already, please get your ticket to the Move to Portugal Virtual Summit because guess what? Moving to Portugal is still a hot ticket. And the way this whole election shenanigans have been looking at some of these pollings that I've been seeing as of late, y'all might not want to be postponing your move as I see some people doing. And I just shared in Black's the Global Passport, for those of you who don't know, our private community, that Harry and Meghan, yes, the Harry and Meghan, they bought a house in Portugal, y'all. Like, hey, come see us. And last but excitingly, right? Some of you have been joining the mailing list as of late for, not mailing list, wait list for Nomad Noir. We already had an informational, maybe like a week and a half ago. The spring cohort is officially sold out. Yay, cue the confetti again. Psh, psh, psh. We have 3 spots remaining for the fall cohort. So if you are interested in scouting Portugal with me as your fairy scout mother, definitely tune in, tap in. Let's talk so that you can get one of the remaining spots for the fall cohort. But spring is all sold out. I've taken it off the site. It is gone. I am now preparing for our spring crew. Yay, 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 yay. Oh yeah, and I forgot to introduce myself. I know some people are like, who's this chick that's been talking? I'm Krishan Wright, the founder of Black's Global, the host of the Black's Global podcast, which is now recording season 7, airing in January. Woo! I'm so excited. Black's Global's turning 5 next year, y'all. This is a big year. It's going to be more stuff, more things to share, more to come. Anyway, so yeah, if you're a Black person and you're looking to move abroad, I'm your girl. That's all I got to tell you. That's all I got to tell you. That's all I got to tell you. Hey, we have another channel member. Yes, I know. They know what's up. I know. And, I am thinking of doing something big for our 5-year anniversary, which is in June, right? To coincide with my birthday. And I can't promise that it's going to be in Portugal. So if y'all are thinking about what you might want to be doing in June, you might just want to stay tuned because we might be doing some other stuff in some other countries around that time. So collect your coins, get your paper ready. So that's that. All right, I'm going to take a quick swig and then we will get started. I've spent half the day speaking Portuguese, so gotta switch my brain. But it is good to see all of y'all. I'm just taking a quick look in the chat. Yes, awesome. Hey. All right, so like I was saying, some of the stuff that I've been reading as of late with like the polls and all this other stuff, kind of related to our topic for tonight. Just kind of further illustrates America's kind of sick. And my thing is, if your country is sick, then oftentimes the workplaces, the systems that are in the country are sick, right? And I think that's also as evidenced in some of the toxic work environments that people are currently in or that have been fortunate enough to extricate themselves from while they're still alive, right? So we're going to talk about healing from toxic workplaces. And I'm so very grateful to have 2 wonderful women back on. And we have Dr. Kimani and Marissa. Hey. How are you ladies?
Hey.
Hello,
Good.
Krishan. Good to see you.
Good to see you. Good to see you both. Welcome back to the channel.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And you're welcome. And a topic that I think continues to need visibility and airtime because it's one thing to say it, but I think it's another thing to realize it might apply to you. And so that's
Mm-hmm.
why I feel like this is a great conversation for us to have.
Mm-hmm.
So for those that either missed our previous live or haven't yet discovered you, and I don't know where y'all been if you don't know, Marissa and Dr. Kimani, because they just put on an awesome summit a few months back. But I will give them time to introduce themselves. And so, Marissa, let's start with you.
Yeah, thank you for having me again. My name is Marissa Price. I am a Black woman social worker, educator, co creator of the Job Liberation Virtual Summit with Dr. Kamani. And yeah, we are gearing up to host a 2-part masterclass, How to Leave a Toxic Job and then How to Heal, based on both of our experiences navigating the process of leaving, the fear that often comes along with that, and in the aftermath of healing from the trauma that you experience in these very toxic work environments. Yeah.
Well stated. I am Dr. Kamani. I'm a licensed clinical psychologist, toxic job survivor, but I love to say I'm a toxic job liberator for Black women. And I am also the co-creator with Marissa Price of the Job Liberation Virtual Summit for Black women. And my YouTube channel and all of my offerings are really to help support Black women in their journey of leaving a toxic job and just to support you on that process because it's usually a long process before you get the courage up to actually leave and do well.
Yes. And I'm curious, and maybe for Dr. Humani, like, why is it that it's hard for Black women to realize that they're in a toxic work environment?
Mm-hmm. a lot of different reasons. One is I think that as Black women, we've been told all of our lives, many of us, that we have to work twice as hard to get half as much. So we already have that expectation, like that's just kind of how it is. And then people around us tell us, jobs are going to be like this. It's going to be challenging. No job. You're not going to really like your job anyway. Just take it. And I think, because of that, as Black women, we work twice as hard. And then what happens is we get in these work environments, we got all the degrees, the credentials, all those things. We get there because we have to be overqualified to even get the job. We get there, the message is, you're not quite good enough. Maybe if you get that other degree, that other credential, or, you're making people uncomfortable because you're so qualified, you're so articulate, so all these other things. So then you're in this thing like, okay, should I do this or should I not do that? That's the one thing. The second thing is we might have people around us who are telling us, girl, that is such a good job with good benefits. You better stay in there. Not that many of us get that job. And then you have the element of sometimes when we work so hard at these jobs, our identity becomes fused with the job. So we identify ourselves in relation to our job title or what we work, what we do. And so that becomes all consuming. And I've also talked about ways that the job can fulfill like a void that you might have in your life. And you may pour all of your energy into the job and not really give focus on what are the voids that you might have in your life.
Mm-hmm.
And so in that way, you're in a very compromised position because you're looking for so much validation from the job, from people who are really focused on exploiting you in so many different ways. So there's all this social conditioning that we experience as Black women, and the fears that if I leave this job, how will I be able to replace my income because I need a job? And so that fear about, will I be able to get another job because of racism and sexism? Maybe I should just stay with the devil I know than the devil I don't know. And so then I think that contributes to a lot of us staying in environments that are very toxic, but then we start lying to ourselves to convince ourselves to stay because it's so scary to leave. So we will just lie and lie and lie to ourselves and say, it's not that bad. It's not that maybe I'll buy another pair of shoes. Maybe I'll go on vacation, nice vacation to make it better, but we're dying inside.
Literally and figuratively.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so when you're in that situation and you've done all this self-talk, maybe you're like, okay, just trying to put some water on your face, get back in the ring, or, people around you are saying, come on, girl, you got to do it. You got to do it.
Mm-hmm.
I guess maybe this question is for Marissa. Is it realistic if you have that, like, maybe not full awareness, but maybe you just have like the whisper of, hey, maybe something's messed up here. Is this something that you should or could tackle alone?
No, I think it is realistic for us to have that whisper because I think that's how it starts off. Like, that's how all change starts off. Just that feeling that you get inside is like, this isn't right. They shouldn't be talking to me like this. But then we've been taught to override that voice through societal conditioning. So it's like tapping back into that initial message that you receive that you're being harmed and actually going with that. And I think that's where community can be pivotal in helping you like reflect back to you that no, that's not right. Right. Self-gaslighting is a trap that we fall into sometimes. Basically, like question our own reality. Did this person say this to me? Did I actually do this wrong? Knowing that you didn't a lot of the times, because again, we're often like star performers in a lot of these roles, which triggers insecurities in other people who try to like take us out. It feels like it's that serious. So actually like retraining your brain to go with that initial whisper that you hear and trusting that any environment that you're in, you don't deserve to be harmed. I feel like that's unlearning oppression at a deep level.
Wow. That's so profound. It's like, is that by staying in it, by thinking you can handle it on your own, you're actually doing yourself harm and also not really pointing the finger at the system that is created, designed, continues to perpetuate, right, and inflict harm on you. And I guess this question maybe for Dr.
Prashant,
Kamani.
I'm sorry, can I add on to that a little bit?
Yeah,
Can I
of
add a little?
course.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So part of the challenge too is that we delude ourselves. So
Mm,
we say to ourselves, I got this. It's not going to be a problem. I know how to play the game. They're not going to run me out of here, all that kind of stuff. But what we don't recognize, and Stephanie Perry talked about this in one of her lives, that
mhm,
when you have pesticides on a vegetable or fruit, you think that if you wash off the pesticides, it's okay, it's all gone. The pesticides have penetrated the fruit. So just like when you're in a toxic
mm,
system, a toxic job, that toxicity has come into your system, into your body. So it has
mhm,
impacted you on so many different levels, physically and or psychologically, but we're not aware of it. We think that no, you're going to be harmed in that environment. The other
mhm,
thing is we delude ourselves because part of it is the social programming that we don't want people to think that we're weak, or we don't want people to think that somebody has run us out of a situation or that they've won, right? And so
mm.
that's part of the delusion is, what are you trying to win? Because you're not going to
Wow.
win anything. You are going to be the biggest loser because you're going to be harmed in the process because the whole system is rigged against you. And so I think that's part of the mindset, is understanding when I feel that feeling like this is not quite right, more than likely you are correct. It's not quite right. So what are you going to do about that at that time? It's important to reality test with somebody like, hey, this happened to me. This is kind of crazy. What do you think about that? And be mindful of not telling your colleagues about it, right? Because then you get wrapped up in all this other stuff at the job. So thinking about who are other people you can talk to, you trust outside of the job, to reality test with.
That's a good point. So I guess staying on that thread a little bit, what are some of the signs? Like we've talked about situations where, you've been gaslit,
Mhm.
get back in the ring, all those stuff. But obviously there's really big psychological impacts. And so what are some of the symptoms or maybe some of the examples where you see, clients that you've worked with are
Mhm.
exhibiting some symptoms that if we talk about it here, somebody
Mhm.
may be able to say, wow, you know what? I think I think there's something going on and I need to tap in.
Mhm. If I can speak about not only the Black women that I work with, but also my own personal experiences as a toxic job
Mm-hmm.
survivor, and to talk about the physical part too, because the
Mm-hmm.
physical and mental go together. So it could be a range of different things. So I'll start with physical. So physical symptoms you might have, your blood pressure might start going up. You might start gaining weight or losing weight because you can't really keep things down. Your
Mm-hmm.
sleeping is jacked up. So you're thinking about playing what happened at the job, who said what, and what you should have said to somebody else. You may start having chest pains, maybe headaches, a lot of gastrointestinal issues,
Mm-hmm.
skin problems like skin breakouts, hair falling out. That's exactly what happened to me. I started having
Wow.
really bad nosebleeds, never had nosebleeds
Oh
ever in my
my
life,
gosh.
ever, right? And they were really bad ones. And so, again, when you're
Wow.
looking at what's happening to your health, you need to pay attention to that because that's a sign your body is telling you, right? They say the body keeps score. The body is
Mm-hmm.
telling you there's something wrong. And instead of kind of like putting it off or accessing those so-called good health benefits, you have to look at, why am I going to the doctor so much? Why am I getting sick so much? What is the source of my stress? A lot of times it's the job. Okay. So those are
Mm-hmm.
the range of physical symptoms. Some people, extreme strokes, heart attacks,
Yeah.
developing cancer, all these other things. Okay. And research has noted that Black women are now dying at earlier ages because of external stresses, racism,
Mm-hmm.
sexism, toxic jobs. So we need to pay attention to that. Okay. And we're seeing a lot of Black women dying prematurely. So that's the one thing. The second thing, in terms of psychologically, it can be depression, anxiety, even PTSD symptoms. So the job might remind you of other traumatic events that you're in your
Mm-hmm.
life, or you may have experienced your trauma at the job. So it does feel like a PTSD type of
Yeah.
reaction. You can
Mm-hmm.
have a sense of dread, which I felt every day.
Wow.
Waking up, the alarm would go off, and I would sit there and dread the thought that I had to go right back into that toxic environment. So at the other extreme, and we've seen this with Dr. Antoinette Bonnie Candia Bailey, at the other extreme is suicidal thoughts and suicidal
Mhm.
behaviors,
Yeah.
or even homicidal thoughts or homicidal behaviors.
Mm,
So
mhm.
it can range the gamut. But what I'm saying is, when you recognize that something is off, you're not feeling well, you need to pause, pay attention, and say, where is this coming from? And get the support and resources to support you, because you can end up in this spiral that's very unhealthy for you. You can end up in this hopeless spiral, which is very dangerous. And so we
Mhm.
see these things happen, but I think sometimes we say, oh, that was her, not me. That would not happen to me. But it's
Mhm.
often like a slow moving train. So burnout is like a slow moving train. You don't
Yeah.
recognize it till you're deep in it. And then with burnout, which is very odd, counterintuitive, we work harder. So we're in the
Yeah.
burnout, we work harder. Like, okay, maybe I need to work even harder. And then it can really cause us, tremendous harm. And so I just want us as Black women to really value our own humanity, even though people around us may not,
Mhm.
but value our own humanity. So we say, well, no, this is most important to me. My self-preservation is most important over this job. And if this job is harming me, maybe I need to go somewhere else because I can,
Mhm.
because I have all these qualifications, degrees, all these things. I can go somewhere else. Even if I'm fearful of doing so, I can do so.
Yeah, and it's so necessary because I remember, I think it was during the pandemic, and I read that the Surgeon General said that
Mm-hmm.
basically the way in which we work in the
Mm-hmm.
United States was detrimental to our health,
Absolutely.
right?
Absolutely.
And as Black women, we are the most educated
Mm-hmm.
demographic in the United
Mm-hmm.
States. We're also
Mm-hmm.
starting businesses at a rate
Mm-hmm.
higher than any other ethnicity. And
Mm-hmm.
yet, we put this, to your point, right? We kind of self gaslight, and we
Mm-hmm.
put this pressure on ourselves,
Mm-hmm.
twice as hard, half as much, oftentimes eclipsing that of our, oftentimes European American counterparts. And it's hard to really be introspective
Mm-hmm.
when it's like you're constantly feeling the, I guess, the pain of the assault,
Yeah, you're under
right?
attack. You're under attack. You're
Yeah.
trying to protect yourself all day, right? So
Mhm.
that sense of kind of hypervigilance, you're kind of jumpy
Mhm.
all day, because if you think about, and this is for a lot of Black women, for me too, when I would drive to the job, it was like I had to kind of prepare myself for what I was going to experience, right? Now I have to
Yeah.
do self-talk to get out of the car, like, oh, it's not that bad, it's not that bad. Get out the car, be like, oh, it is that bad. And then as soon as I walk through the door, I got to put the job mask on all day,
Yeah.
because I have to hide how I'm really feeling, because I
Mhm.
know people are really out to get me. And so I
Yeah.
I can't show any weakness. So that is exhausting. So
Mhm.
physically and mentally drained by the end of the day, and then still processing that garbage on my way home or once I get home. So
Yeah.
now it's impacted my life outside of the job. And that's when the job
Mhm.
becomes all consuming.
Yeah. Yeah. And the sad part is that America keeps you tied to systems, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so your livelihood is tied to your employment, not just
Mm-hmm.
monetarily, but your health insurance
Yep.
is tied to your employment. So the toxic job that's killing you oftentimes is also the lifeline, right? And so you're just in this, perpetual situation of, well, damn, this job is making me have to use these health benefits if
Mm-hmm.
I use them, because a lot of times we'll try and self-diagnose, feel like we could take it on ourselves, afraid that if
Mm-hmm.
we take some time off, it might show that we're not
Mm-hmm.
committed, it might show
Mm-hmm.
weakness, like all of those
Mhm.
things
How
that,
many Black
again,
women do you know have, like, this abundance of time off
oh,
that they never
yes.
take?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, when I get coaching calls and people tell me, "Oh, yeah," I'm like, "Oh, I don't know if I have money to move abroad and stuff like that." And it's like, "Well, what would it look like if you leave?" Well, I had about a year's worth of, sick time and PTO.
Wow.
And it's like, "Wait, come again?"
Right.
Like, I'm sorry, run that by me again, sis. Like,
Right, right.
but we're so like, and I, as somebody, I was raising my two kids, and thankfully I had stayed committed on a path towards financial independence,
Mhm.
but it wasn't easy, right?
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
so because of the financial pull, right? Like if this money goes away, when I was in it,
Mhm.
like if this money goes away, what does
Mhm.
that mean for my kids? What does that
Yeah.
mean for my future? And so your
Mhm.
mind automatically, it's almost like we put a value on our own self-worth, and we're okay with making that trade-off. And one of the
Mhm.
things that, for anybody who's watching this live or the replay, is you are worthy, right?
Mhm.
Period. Full
Mhm.
stop. You are
Mhm.
worthy, right? It is not like, oh, well, if I die, well, maybe they'll have some life insurance. Like, don't
Mhm.
take yourself out of the equation. That's the
Mm-mm.
wrong math problem, right?
Mm-mm.
That's the wrong
Mm-mm.
math problem. You
And,
are
to
worthy.
really validate that, yes, we all need money. I mean, most of us don't have like a huge trust fund, right? We all need to work to make money, but also recognize that we can make money at another job and or having our own businesses. So we've been caught up into the lie. We bought into the lie that this job is the only place where I can make money. And that is not true. And so part of it is saying, okay, this job is harming me. I know I need to get out of here. What do I need to do to start planning? Planning. Okay. We Black women, we plan. Okay. So
Mm-hmm.
what do I need to do? Start planning, and what resources are available to me so I can start planning. So for me, I took a leave of absence. I knew I had to get out of there. And then I started working with Black women business coaches to start getting my
Mm.
business together so I could start generating income to replace my income.
Yeah.
So, looking at other opportunities for us to replace our income and not just thinking that's the only place where I can make money or that's the only place where I can really make a difference with my career. That's not true.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, absolutely. And Ty has said in the comments she's been dealing with one unexplained health phenomena after another over the last 2 years, and I
Mhm.
know it's because my mind and body need a proper break from work.
Yeah. So true. Because you can't heal if you're still being assaulted and attacked,
Mm-hmm.
right? So the healing from a toxic job really happens after you leave. So I'm still healing. I resigned about 2 years ago. I'm still healing. That's why we're going to have the
Mm-hmm.
part two about how to heal because it's a process.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And so with that, I think it's a good time to segue into like one of the solutions, right? We talked about resources and getting in community. And so I know, Marissa, you have to jump off soon, but you all have these 2 masterclasses coming up. And so I'm not sure. I'll see you later, Marissa. Thanks. Kimani, if you wanted to talk about like why you created the masterclass
Mhm.
and who's it for.
Yes, thank you for that, Krishan. So first, um, after as I was exiting out that toxic job, part
Mm-hmm.
of my healing was to talk about it because I knew they were trying to silence me and I refused to be silenced. So that's when I created my YouTube channel. So that was therapeutic for me to talk about my own healing journey. But then as I started doing that, I started helping other Black women. They started reaching out for me around the world. Same issue, different professions, different parts of the world, same parallel experience. And so, what I've seen, I've come to learn is that so many Black women around the world are having similar experiences. So, from the YouTube channel, then I started working with Marissa. So blessed to work with her. And then she came up with the idea for the Job Liberation Virtual Summit for Black women. So, we had our first annual one last May, and we had over 300 Black women that we helped support leaving and doing well after you going to a toxic job. So we had wonderful speakers, we
Mm-hmm.
had sponsors, we had all of that. It was all only for Black women and it was virtual. So from there, we said, you know what, we will continue to do the virtual summit, but
Mm-hmm.
Black women need support throughout the year in the
Yes.
process of leaving. So then we came up with the master classes. So the masterclass on Sunday, October 20th, is how to get ready to leave a toxic job. Because most of us don't just wake up one day and be like, oh, I'm out, I'm good. No, it is a process. It is a
If
process. If
only.
only, right? We might think about it, but we need to plan for it. And I really want Black women to recognize that we have agency to plan and get out of there. Okay. We can plan and get out of there and do better. But when we think about what we're offering, the masterclass really helps you go through all the emotional, psychological issues you might have with the thought of leaving the job, and
Mhm.
also teaching you ways to connect to how do I pivot? How do I even get out of this job? And what is going to be my plan as I exit out this job and I'm creating an exit plan? What does that look like? What do I need to keep in mind about creating that exit plan so that you will feel more prepared to exit? So that's
Mhm.
October 20th, 5 to 7 p.m. Eastern. So
Mm.
Marissa, me, we're going to have other guest speakers from Black women. And again, these are only for Black women. Okay. So October 27th is how to heal after leaving a toxic job. So as I mentioned before, leaving a job, even a toxic one, there's a grief process. And many of us don't understand. We're like, wait, why don't I feel great? Why don't I feel jubilant? Because there's a lot of harm that you experienced and you never really processed it. So the danger with that is that if you go into another job, you could take all that mess with you,
Mhm.
or it could impact you in a way where you're stuck. I've met Black women, they are literally stuck. They may have left that job 2, 3 years ago, but they're still
Mm.
stuck at what happened at that job, right? So we will walk you through the grief process, and that's October 27th, and that's
Mhm.
5 to 7 p.m. And then in January, we're going to have another financial masterclass. So the
Mm.
financial masterclass is for Black women again. And this is me in collaboration with Dr. Roche Brown, who is a financial psychologist. She was actually the financial psychologist that I work with when I was on a leave of
Wow.
absence to get my financial exit plan together. So I'll
Mhm.
be okay. So
Yeah.
all of the things that I offer are really to help support Black women, no matter where they are on the continuum with, I'm thinking this job is not okay, to get me out of this job so I can do well. So I want to support Black women no matter where they're on the continuum. So it might
Mhm.
just be watching my YouTube videos, my YouTube channel as Lifting As We Climb Consulting Wellness Services, or it might be coming to the masterclass. It might be coming to the summit. It might be all these different things, but I just
Yeah.
want to provide resources for Black women to know you're not alone and
Mhm.
we have options, and I am here to support you. I want to help you get out and do well.
Yeah, and thank you and Marissa for creating these resources. And it's a true lifeline.
Mhm.
When I was going in it, and when you were talking about the symptoms earlier, I had them. I had the gastrointestinal stuff. I had the sleeplessness, the
Mhm,
depression, the
mhm,
hair falling out, right?
mhm,
Skin issues, and
mhm.
all of these things. And writing it off like, oh, it must be because I'm getting older, or oh, maybe I ate something, or oh, and not associating it with the actual job, right?
Yes,
Minimizing all the
yes.
things that were going on. And also, feeling like I didn't have anybody to turn to
Mhm,
because
mhm.
everyone else, like, was saying, you got that good
It's
job.
good. With those good
That's
benefits, girl, you better
good.
not leave.
What,
What are
you
you
didn't
thinking
think you
about?
have one? What?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
and when you're in it, and then you have that whole responsibility factor, it
Mhm,
is challenging
mhm.
to, put the oxygen mask on yourself,
Absolutely.
but it is so necessary. And
Mhm,
so that is why having these conversations in the public discourse is
mhm,
going to help in such a big way, because somebody's going to be watching this, or they know someone who's going
mhm.
through it,
Yep.
and they can say, hey, you know what? You need to watch this. You need to get into this masterclass. You need to tap in because
Mhm,
it seems like, you might need some support.
mhm,
And so I guess staying on the thread of support, and I'm just going to paraphrase a question that's in the comments. So
mhm,
for a Black woman that is partnered, right, whether it be regardless of gender or gender identity,
mhm.
how can a partner be more supportive if they see that their Black woman that they are with is struggling in these areas or in this area?
Yeah. So number one, I think it's important to mirror back what they're saying, their concern. I've noticed that, you are not eating as well. I noticed that you talk about the job a lot. I noticed, so mirror back what you are observing and what your
Mhm.
concern is, and talk to them about what you think that the culprit is. It may be the job. Let them know that that might be, and also let them know that you are supporting them in whatever decision they make. So
Mm.
sometimes people feel like they can't share things with other people because they will project their fears onto them, right? So they might
Mhm.
feel like, well, if I tell my partner's going to say, you need to keep that job because we need that money. So if that's the case, I'm not going to share that with you. So if you're open to allow your partner to talk about what their experiences are and support them in whatever decision they need to make, because it's for their well-being and it really will
Mhm.
impact your relationship too. Because when you think about the
Mm.
toxic job, it's going to impact you over time in terms of your relationships at home, outside of
Mm.
the job. So it's very important to understand that. The other thing is to work with your partner about what are the possible resources that I can help you find or I can support you in helping you through this process. I may not be able to fully support you. I may not fully understand, but I'm not coming at this in a judgmental way. And so I think
Mhm.
it's just that openness, but the importance of reflecting back what you're seeing, expressing concern, and really saying, you know what, this decision is up to you, but I really want what's best for you. Like I am more concerned about you than that job. And let's think about what possible resources may be available to help you.
That's a great answer. And I'll just build on for what you said too, is that if you as a partner find yourself struggling in that area, maybe
Mhm.
it's a good time for you to get additional support and resources to
True.
help you, with navigating that, maybe some coaching
Mhm.
around, mirroring exercises, what to say in addition to the things that Dr. Kimani just outlined. Sometimes, it's helpful to also have a place to vent because your partner may not be fully equipped. A lot of times we have this feeling of exhaustion
Mhm.
and vulnerability because you're constantly being attacked, and you talked about the hypervigilance.
Mhm.
It might be met with resistance.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
so, as a partner, and you're like, well, they said this and I did that, but they, but
Yeah.
my partner didn't go for that. You,
Yeah.
instead of retreating,
Yeah.
you might need to get extra support with, okay, you did these things and this is the right
Mhm.
thing to do. It's
Mhm.
not uncommon for your partner to do this because of where they are.
Mhm.
Here's some support around that.
Yes.
So
Yes.
that's just wanted to build
And
on
I
that.
think the challenge too for partners is that many times they go into problem solving mode. So you tell them how
Mm.
you're feeling and they're like, okay, so it's not a problem. But you just need time to just vent, just to let it out, just like let me talk. But if the partner recognizes like this has become all consumed, like that's all you talk about, that is another sign that maybe your partner needs that support. Because my husband, he was like, oh my God, like I'm so sick of talking about the job. I know all the people at your job. Like, this is
Wow.
too much. This is
Yeah.
too much. And so that's a sign that, you know what, this job has now come into my home and it's impacting my relationship.
Mm.
No.
So is it realistic to think that um, there are quote unquote good jobs still out there, especially if a person finds themselves, you know, in a toxic work
Mhm.
environment, but they
Mhm.
may have had previous exposure
Mhm.
to a toxic work environment, either as the recipient
Mhm.
of attacks
Mhm.
or witnessing
Mhm.
someone else be the recipient.
Mhm. Yeah, there are good jobs out there, and in fact, tonight I'm gonna do a live with 2 best friends. They've been best friends for 40 years, and they've had very
Wow.
different experiences in the workplace. So one of the best friends has had toxic work experiences, and the other one has not at all. And so we're gonna
Wow.
talk about the continuum. So yeah, there are good jobs out there, and I think what's important for us as Black women to recognize that if you've had a toxic job, toxic work experience, it's very important to look at the lessons learned there. What were the red flags? So as you go
Mm.
into another job, you don't end up in another toxic job that is as bad or worse than what you came from. And so that's what we're going to be talking about in the masterclass too, is thinking about what are your options as you do that career pivot, that job pivot. What are your options and what do you need to be looking out for so you don't end up in another toxic job?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. After
Mhm.
my after my last stint, well, I got wise and I was like, hey, let me stash it away some extra cash.
Smart, smart,
And
smart.
and that ultimately allowed me to retire and get myself up out of the country, which was already the plan to get out of the country. But
Uh-huh.
um and I too am on this healing journey.
Mhm.
After being abroad now over 14 months now, and seeing the physical transformation. Some people
Mhm.
have made comments in the past. I look refreshed, younger,
Ew.
I'm
You're like
more
so bubbly.
able.
I was like looking at you backstage. I was like, this woman is like, she is in her element.
I
Yes.
am. I am. I'm happy,
Yeah.
and it's and my full self. I can show up as my full self.
Mhm.
But again, there's a physical transformation that
Mhm.
has, to my surprise, I thought would be quicker, and
Mhm.
like I'm eating clean food, I'm walking, you know,
Mhm.
10, 15,000 steps a day. And I thought like, oh, the weight's gonna come off, like it was almost like a light switch. And
Yeah.
now at month 14 is where I'm really starting to see like the compounding of the
Mm.
transformation. And so I guess all that is to say is everybody's healing journey is going to look different,
True.
and it's not, you're not serving yourself by creating an arbitrary timeline
Mhm.
with respect to your healing.
Mhm.
And that's why I think this masterclass series is something that you should tap into and
Mhm.
pull others, right?
Yeah.
Because it is community. It is part of the equation to help
Mhm.
you begin the process of healing.
Mhm.
So, Dr. Kimani, on the healing aspect,
Mhm.
um, how has it been for you, or even some of your clients? Like, what are some of the discoveries and epiphanies that people have had as
Mhm.
they've been on this process of healing?
Mhm. Well, different things, right? Some people decide, I don't want to work for anybody else
Mm.
again, right? That's kind
That
of
was
where I
me.
fit. That's kind of my direction, right? Like, I don't want, no, I don't want people to have that much control over me. So it
Yeah.
could be that, or it could be people say, you know what, I've ended up in better jobs now because
Mhm.
now I know how to advocate for myself better. Or if job opportunities come my way and they sound good, but it's like, no, because I saw those red flags. So you're being
Mm.
more aware of different things, but also knowing that the healing journey, not only it's a process, it's ongoing, but you
Mhm.
might take two steps forwards and have some backwards moments, right? So you might
Mm.
have those moments, and I still have this too, of practicing self-forgiveness about when I was there. God, I can't believe I let, or I can't believe I, or start beating
Mm.
yourself up. But it doesn't have any benefit for me, and I just let that go. I just say, "You know what? I made the best decision that I could when I was there because I was crippled or like the fear had a chokehold on me, and that's why I stayed so long." So giving myself grace, and I think that has been a huge part of my healing and as well with the Black women that I work with, because again, you get stuck in that trauma memory about what happened, and if you
Mhm.
don't process it, it just stays there. And so knowing that you have to be able to digest what happens to you have to process it so you don't repeat the same mistakes and you don't get stuck. So that's what the masterclass helps to support Black women with. And I just want to say this too, Krishan, before I forget, that the masterclass and any other thing that I offer, masterclasses, summit, it's all for Black women and the privacy element. So we know as Black
Yes, let's
women,
talk about that.
we do not want people in our business, number one. And when we're trying to make a move, a major life change, a job change, we don't want people in our business. So everything that I provide, it is webinar format. So your name will not be listed. Nobody will see you are there. and you will not be on camera. Only the speakers will be on camera.
Mm.
So just I don't want that to be a reason why Black women don't come, because I've heard this way too much, Krishan, and this is
Mhm.
the part that's concerning, is that Black women, it's almost like that, like Stephanie Perry talks about fruit of the slavery tree.
Yeah.
They feel that it's like a plantation. The job will find out that they're
Yeah.
trying to leave. And so they become like, oh my God, I want to, but I'm scared because the job gonna find out. And so we're trying to minimize any of that fear that the job
Mhm.
will find out. Only Marissa or I will know you're registered, and we're not gonna tell your job. We're not gonna tell anybody that you're registered. But that is a very real fear. And I didn't know
Yeah.
that. I didn't really know that until we started offering the master classes. And people
Wow.
have said this repeatedly, like, will my job find out? Will people know that I'm in the job in the summit, or will they know I'm in the master class? And so that's why I've been very intentional and really stressing that no one will know that you are
Mhm.
in the master class.
Wow. That's a true safe space because I'm just thinking of, you know, my time in corporate and other Black women, either dealing with comments about our hair, our physical appearance, our clothing choices,
Mhm. Tone of
um,
voice.
tone of voice, body art, all of the above,
Mhm.
and feeling like you have to constantly try to wear the mask or contort
Mhm.
yourself into something that is an acceptable version. And meanwhile, you become so far removed from who you are as a
Yep.
person
Yep.
that it makes it harder to even look in the mirror and
Exactly.
recognize, because you don't even recognize the person that's looking back at
Yeah,
you.
it's like the mask has become fused to your face. Right?
Yes.
And you can't really see who you are. You can't really see what you really want for your life. And then that's when your identity becomes fused. So you
Mhm.
can't even think of, well, what would you like to do outside of your job? Or what do you
Yeah.
like to do for fun? It just feels like
Mhm.
that's just not going to happen for me. I'm just,
Mhm.
this certain position. That's who I am.
Mhm. And so when as we start to wrap a little bit, but you talked about the January masterclass, and I know we're focused on the two, but one of the things you talked about earlier was about the financial piece. And
Hmm.
because the finances are still like very much top of mind for
Hmm.
obvious reasons,
Hmm.
um, how is getting your money right so essential,
Oh,
an
it's
essential
it's
part of this
key.
equation?
It is absolutely key. So I knew that I said, okay, well, while I was in therapy with my Black woman therapist, I knew that the main thing keeping me at the job was fear about finances. So I said, okay, if that's the fear, then I need to address this fear because I got to get out of this job. And so that's when I realized I could not figure this out for myself because I got some financial issues. I can't figure it out myself. So I
Mhm.
need to work with somebody. And that's when I found out about Dr. Roche Brown, who is a clinical psychologist and a financial psychologist, a Black woman. And I said, you know what? I need to work with her. And it was difficult because I had to work through my money drama, and I had to
Mm.
work through looking at my finances, which I was not looking at consistently. And so I had to do a lot of very painful things, but I knew I had to do it to get the financial plan in order. And so once I was able to get that financial plan in order, it took down a lot of the anxiety about
Mhm.
leaving. And I had someone else, a Black woman, Dr. Brown, saying, hey, you're going to be more than okay. And in fact, if you don't
Wow.
leave that job, you're losing money because you're making more money now. So you're going to be more than okay. I needed that. I needed that.
Yeah.
Right.
Mhm.
But even though I knew that was the biggest thing I had, the biggest barrier to leaving that job, I still had the fear because in my mind, I was thinking, okay, the financial stuff, but I still put the fear. That must mean I need to stay. No, that was not. And I had to work through that in therapy. That
Mhm.
was not the reason. The fear was just saying, okay, you are having a major life change. So get
Yeah.
prepared for that, but that doesn't mean to stop. And I think that many
Mhm.
of us get tripped up by that. We think the fear means stop. And I'm quoting Glenn Mazzini that the fear doesn't mean stop. The fear means it's like a gate. You walk through it. But what kind of support do you
Mm.
get as you're walking through it?
Yeah, that is so true because fear, it's interesting how the brain is like a supercomputer, right? It is, right? It's doing
Yeah.
all of these things it's the operating system that's in the
Mhm,
background.
mhm,
Even like you think about your phone, right?
mhm,
So an example, blood circulating, you don't have to think about your heart beating, like all of these
mhm,
things or systems that your body's doing. Well, your brain, when it's doing something it really has no frame of reference for, is going to try to protect you because that's what its job is. That's what
mhm,
fear is. And it's
mhm,
like, oh, you want to do this, but I don't have enough information to tell you one way or another how this is going to work out. And
mhm,
so it can, in some cases, keep you paralyzed
mhm,
and make you stay where your brain has information.
mhm,
Hey, you know what? This sucks, but we getting that check. You rationalize all these things that are simultaneously they're threats. And
yes.
so that's why getting in community, having people who can say, hey, you know what, let's reflect, let's talk about,
Mhm,
you know some of the symptoms that you're experiencing, some of the conditions that you're existing in, and
mhm,
what do you really want for yourself and for your life, can help
right.
you deconstruct and then put the pieces back
Mhm,
together, because there has
mhm,
to be, I think, a level of acceptance for what it is,
mhm,
forgiveness for
mhm,
yourself
mhm,
for being in this situation,
mhm,
right? Because I think there's, like you were talking about, like, well, why didn't I say this? It's like this acknowledgement that this is what it is. You can't change the past, but you do
mhm,
have an opportunity to design the future that you want for yourself, be it
mhm,
in a new work environment or going
mhm,
out on your own or
mhm.
doing something completely different entirely.
Mhm, mhm. Yeah, and I think what's important too is to note that the possibility is there and to know that you
Mm,
are around Black women who are there supporting you and rooting for you in our master classes and our summits. We are there to support you, but I just want to say this to us Black women.
mhm,
Be very mindful who you tell your plans to. Okay. So when you're at your job, do not tell your coworkers, do not tell other people at your job that you're planning to go. You need to do like Harriet Tubman. She worked in silence. Okay. She planned in silence. You need to plan in silence, but also come to the master class because we're a community who is safe. Okay. People at
mhm.
your job might not necessarily be safe. They may share your business. It may not go well for you. So I would just support you in really walking in silence as you create that exit plan. And if you need help creating that exit plan, then come to the masterclass.
Yes, yes. And I will drop the links for this again. It's also in the description of the video, but I'm going to drop both links in the chat again because, like I said, this is a very valuable resource and supportive environment. Anonymity is preserved, which I think is phenomenal.
Yes.
And this is where you can get the process to begin so that you're not stuck, so that you're not,
Mm-hmm.
looking back, years later with regret, that
Right.
you're not, going to the extreme as some of the examples that we talked about earlier.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of the day, regardless of what your familial unit looks like,
Mm-hmm.
it's never going to be the same if you're not in it,
True.
right?
True. True.
No amount of money, is going to replace you. You are
Yeah.
uniquely you. You have gifts that you have been endowed with, and you have an opportunity to really change the trajectory of your life. And it's possible because we are living examples of that.
Exactly, exactly. And we need to see those models. We need to see examples of Black women who have done it. And not only that we've done it, like we're reaching back and we're trying to help as many Black women as we can in the process, just like you and Halisi, trying to help as many Black people trying to come to Portugal. So reaching back, it's not as important as we got out, that's important, but are we
Hmm.
helping to uplift others as well?
Yeah, yeah. It's the bridge, right? This can
Yes,
be the bridge that
yes.
um you can move across. So I'm just looking at some of the comments. Teresa was saying, you just described some of my fears.
Yeah.
And Yeah, so that's a very real situation for somebody who
Yes. So
and
Teresa, we're going to talk about that in the financial masterclass. Okay. So I worked at a job that had a pension. And so I kind of felt like, oh my God, I'm going to lose my pension. I'm not losing my pension. Okay. But when I worked
mm,
with Dr. Roche, I learned about how to roll over that money. Okay. So please come to the financial masterclass. You will learn about what to do about your retirement stuff, your healthcare benefits, and ways, so many options to replace your income. So on my website and also on my YouTube channel in the description section, there's a waiting list. And I can send it to you too, Krishan. There's a waiting
mm,
list for the January masterclass. So you should come to the masterclass.
yes, definitely. Because, like I said, I think, sometimes we think that there isn't a path forward because of, the way the systems in which we exist in
Mhm.
the United States, they're designed to keep you tethered.
Yes.
And I think the best way to begin the process of healing is to, I know Stephanie and Rashida are big proponents of career sabbaticals
Mhm.
and taking that time, like you said, to process, to
Mhm.
plan, because sometimes
Mhm.
it means coming up with just enough money to just take the break, which
Mhm.
then gives you the space to
Mhm.
then create the vision for the finances, to create the
Right.
vision for a future job or
Right.
whatever that looks like.
Right, because you don't
Um,
wanna just leave, like, in crisis mode, like, "I gotta get out of here," and you
exactly.
jump and you go into the fire and you get into a worse situation. Yeah.
Hmm. Absolutely. And I've seen, I was telling,
Mm.
oh, I'm so sorry,
Yeah, I'm
Teresa.
sorry.
I've
I'm
seen,
sorry.
the flip side of that. I talked about my own issues, PTSD and things like that when I was in the workplace, but there were
Mhm.
some toxic things that happened at a former employer, not on my team, where I saw people or heard of people who were undergoing cancer treatments, but they still had to show up and be on camera or we're getting chemo. And I'm like, wait, what? Or a
Yeah,
spouse or a significant other.
yeah.
And it's like, or even a family friend who's going through treatment right now and still has to go because they don't have social security. They don't have, you
Wow.
know, and it's like it just further illustrates that the systems that are designed in the United States are not designed in a way to create that safety net,
Mm-mm.
right? It's a
Mm-mm.
it's a way to perpetuate rugged individualism,
Mhm.
perpetuate hypercapitalism to
Mhm.
keep you on that hamster
Exploitation of
wheel.
labor.
Yes, exploitation all the way around, right?
Mhm.
And that's why having these conversations in the public discourse allows people to realize that there is an alternative.
Mhm. True. There's so many alternatives at that, right? So it's not like A or B. If I don't do A, then there's B. No, there are so many opportunities, so many different options for us, and you
Mhm.
may not know what they are. That's why you need to access
Mm.
resources so you find out what the options are.
Yes. Ooh, I love that what you just said. Pinky said I worked in law enforcement. Leaving that job was hard, even though it was extremely toxic. Pensions, benefits, health insurance, all to lose. I got out before it killed me though, retired at 30.
Wow.
So glad
Wow.
you got out.
Yes, your life is more important than a job.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Oh,
Because, there are plenty of jobs out there, right? And we have to, I think it was ultimately shifting gears
mhm,
from scarcity mindset and
mhm,
thinking that this is the only job I'll ever have. This is as much as I'm ever going to make. This is the only
mhm,
job that'll pay me. What if they find out I can't do A, B, and C? You
mhm, the
know,
shackles.
yeah, all of that
Mhm.
to shifting to abundance. Like,
Yes.
I make money daily and often.
Yes,
I'm a money magnet. I have
yes.
skills and ability and talents. And it's like the retraining of my
Mhm.
brain, but that only came with time, community, empowerment, and surrounding myself with people
Yeah.
that also got to a point where they were like, nah,
Yeah,
this
yeah,
ain't it.
yeah. So surrounding yourself around with a circle of people who uplift you and not a circle of people who project their fears onto you and who try to discourage you.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
So, y'all, I dropped the links in the description of this video and a few times in the chat. So, I hope you all will tap in. Kimani, before we break, do you want to give the dates again? Because one of
Yes.
them is this weekend.
Yes, it's a Sunday. So October 20th from 5 to 7 p.m. Eastern Time is How to Get Ready to Leave a Toxic Job. This is a masterclass for Black women teaching you about the steps as you're preparing to leave. So the emotional steps, but the practical steps. What do you need to do in terms of getting that exit plan together as you're pivoting out of that job, that career, whatever you're pivoting out of, but how to help you so you're able to replace your income and do well once you leave. So that's October 20th, 5 to 7 p.m. Eastern. Okay. Again, you will not be on camera. Your name will not be listed. October 27th is the how to heal after you leave the toxic job, because there's a healing journey after you leave the toxic job. So you can come to one or both. It's up to you. Okay. So October 27th, 5 to 7 p.m. Again, you will not be on camera. Your names will not be listed. Okay. So my invitation to you is that you come to the master classes or one or the other, and that you share this with other Black women you know. Because more than likely, if you know a Black woman in the United States, she is working a toxic job or she knows somebody who is. So please share this information with our sisters too.
Yes, thank you so much for creating this resource. And thank you for Marissa. I know she had to leave early, but thank you both for, putting all of your time, effort, and energy into this. You talked about being a toxic liberator, toxic
Yeah.
job liberators. You
Yes.
are both now thriving. I'm also thriving on the other
Yeah.
side. There is a way out and a way forward. And
True.
so definitely encourage you all to tap in, just as Dr. Kimani has shared. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Krishan. I appreciate you. And
Thank
thank you,
you.
everyone. Check out my YouTube channel too.
Thank you. I'll see y'all next week, y'all. Ciao, ciao.
Bye.